So we will switch to the last session of the day. The last session of the day is that with Kathryn Nicholson from Ironhack. We have on 15 Tech 15% of the database who of the people, candidates who came with a career change, and all of them are saying to us, we have very difficulties to find the first job first, but also to negotiate my entry salary. I have perhaps soft skills before, I have perhaps a 10 years career, but while coming into tech, it's like having no experience. And so that's very difficult to enter. And so we have decided to organize this masterclass for the people who we have made perhaps a career change, who's just made it. It's adapted also to junior people, just accepted perhaps for the soft skills, but even you are young, you have acquired soft skills, perhaps in the personal project, or I don't know. So that's something that can help you really to face the situation in order to help you to get the best entry salary and the best job for you, because we need you. 1 million people, 1 million job like needed in tech in less than 2030, and we don't have these people. So reconversion, career change profile are very important. And that's why I'm very pleased to welcome you, Kathryn, with you. We are partnering a lot with Ironhack, doing conferences. Juliette is doing conferencing like every month for your students. And we are very pleased to receive you now on 15 Tech with your great advice. I let you the mic, Kathryn, to present yourself and to share your screen with your slide presentation. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Caroline. And yes, also special shout out to Juliette, who I connected with. I think we've been collaborating together for over a year and a half, maybe. So it's been quite some time. I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can go ahead and get started. Exactly as Caroline said, we are focusing on career changers. Honestly, for me, I'm more focused on the tech people, of course. That's why everyone here, 50 in tech, that's the goal. But honestly, if there's anybody here who is doing a career change in general and maybe not towards tech, a lot of these recommendations will also be useful to you. So don't worry too much. Let's go ahead. I will share my screen and we can get started. All right. You see my slides, yes?
Yes, we can
Fantastic.
see it's loading now to have the full screen, and that's perfect. Yes,
Awesome.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
Of course. Perfect. Thank you so much, guys, again, for inviting me to be here. As Caroline already said, I will be talking about career changers and how to negotiate your new entry-level salary. Before we get started on things, just to properly introduce myself, even after such a fantastic introduction from Caroline, thank you again. Just to properly introduce myself again, my name is Kathryn Nicholson, and I am the Student Success Manager and Career Specialist at Ironhack France. Ironhack is an international tech school, ed tech company, where we host intensive and 6-month-long boot camps, reorienting people towards the tech field. So we host UX, UI design, web development, data analytics, and cybersecurity courses throughout the year across 9 different campuses, and also remote campus as well. So if you count remote, 10 campuses across Europe and the Americas. So a little bit more about me and what I do exactly. As the Student Success Manager and Career Coach, I really accompany all of our graduates to help them kind of re-strategize their profiles towards the tech field with the goal of finding a new job in whichever field they specialized in. So my main role in general is our career services program. So I'm the career coach, and on the other side of our career services program, we also have a vast hiring partner community, which is another part of our career services program to help people land jobs in the tech field faster and more efficiently. So usually, I think at Ironhack especially, I've been working with Juliette for over a year and a half now, super sweet. We honestly connected together because she reached out and she recognized that Ironhack and 50 in Tech have a really similar goal, honestly, for the future. Just talking about Ironhack France, our student base is 55% women, So already we are here to support the next generation in tech. And that's the main reason that Juliette has helped host conferences with me to kind of continue that conversation and really support this idea as we break down the glass ceiling and get to the, the gender balance in the tech world. So going into what I will actually talk about today, not just about myself, but we're going to go ahead and talk about how to negotiate your salary as a new entry-level profile. The main things that we're going to talk about today is personal branding and owning your story, and then a special look into transferable skills and exactly how you can merge your past experience with your future experience and maybe these new technical competencies that you've recently acquired. And then at the end, we'll go ahead and talk about actually negotiating offers and how to kind of pitch yourself better to companies when you are having that negotiation meeting. And then I believe at the end, we'll have some time for some questions too, and anything else that maybe people want to ask me. And I will try my best to answer your questions. Okay, first thing we're going to go into, like I said, is personal branding and owning your story. This is something that I particularly am passionate about, honestly, because I am also a career changer. I actually specialized or studied international relations and French and Francophone language and culture studies in my background. And I ended up doing a career change towards higher education and career coaching, mainly because the world of international development is kind of slow and a little sad. So I decided to seek out faster joy in the world in a way by focusing on my passions of access to education and people finding jobs and sustainable careers for themselves to enjoy their lives the best. So owning your story and being able to kind of market yourself better in this field is super important. And, me, myself, I'm not a tech profile, but these recommendations are transferable for any type of career changer that might be here with us today. So the things we're going to think about in particular is personal branding and kind of what you're able to promise for this new market, for this new field. Personal branding is kind of focusing on differentiating yourself from other candidates, potentially in the recruitment process and in the market with you, and how to stand out from the other people who might have trained at an engineering school and you only did a boot camp and now you're trying to market yourself as a web developer, things like that. What makes you different? This promise that I'm talking about is kind of the promise and the goal, your personal why that you have as you enter this field. And usually finding this promise, this personal why, usually takes a bit of introspection and some time for personal preparation, where you're kind of able to document and have a deeper understanding of your own personal values, your interests, your personal qualities, your strengths, and also your competencies as well, your hard skills and your soft skills that follow you along through your life as you gain them in a work experience, or if you are naturally, with your own personality type, naturally good at some of these skills that are highly useful in the tech field or just in reorienting your career. So mainly, why is this important? Why is building your own personal brand so necessary even before you get to the salary negotiation step in a recruitment process? Like I said already, it's all about differentiating yourself from the competition and making yourself unique and stand out from the crowd, but also taking some time to understand your own personal brand and your goals in the future and how to market yourself in this, in this market, in this economy, will also help you gain some confidence in your own abilities and what you can do in the future, regardless of what you've done in the past. Other things that tie into personal branding is also increasing your visibility and your presence as a member of this market. Potentially, you want to use your personal branding for, online profiles like on LinkedIn, or if you have an online portfolio, a website like that, or maybe you have a YouTube channel and you like to, share your story on there. This personal branding can really empower you to increase your visibility and your online presence as well, which in the future leads to maximize networking and connecting in your field, which is super important even before the actual salary negotiation. In any recruitment process, entering into the interviews with your own personal brand, understanding how you are different from other candidates is highly useful and can help you achieve your goals and objectives better in the future, especially for career changers, for sure. So exactly, going in a little deeper into personal branding and how you can kind of find your talent sweet spot. Like I said, this can take some introspection. And I often, whenever I work with our career changer students, I highly encourage them to take some time to really document and have a deeper understanding of their profile and what they bring in the market. Exactly. So this can focus on, your hard skills, soft skills, the knowledge you already have, your personal characteristics, your interests, and also your professional preferences, your career values, your missions, any other career, adjectives that you want to add in there, like you want a comfortable environment, you want a startup environment where it's horizontal management. All of those types of things can be part of this talent sweet spot as well. Have a greater understanding of what you want and what is your sweet spot. And then, of course, your life priorities are super important to helping you find your place in the market, as well as your own personal brand. Obviously, focus more on your own personal life, your family life, any personal motivations that you want to kind of make sure that are tied into your future as whatever tech role you're pursuing next, okay? And this honestly helps you orient yourself in a way where you know your priorities. And when you are finally negotiating your salary in the end, you're able to have a greater understanding of, what is the best alternative if your goals are, not able to be matched by that recruiter, okay, or hiring manager. So that was a short little insight onto personal branding, and combined with personal branding, as I said, involves some introspection, where we get to focus a little bit deeper on transferable skills. Specifically for the career changer, having a special focus on transferable skills can really make you stand out from other junior profiles, especially if you're launching yourself into web development in particularly. Web development is such a hot job right now, hot thing on the market, that there's so many people who are looking to be a part of this field. And there are some candidates who went to engineering school. There's some people who have a master's in web development, so on and so forth. But you as a candidate who maybe did a boot camp or did a retraining after a couple of years in another market, we want to focus in especially on these transferable skills and why you're more valuable and going to save time and money for every company, and what makes you more worthy and more valuable than the classic junior profile who may not have an understanding of basic office life and so on and so forth. So going more into transferable skills, there are so many different types of transferable skills. I put a little list here on my slides, but honestly, there are so much more, and they can change depending on the field that you're coming from and the field that you are going into in the future. But some include, of course, communication, research, project management, even the basics of understanding office life. This means, sitting in a room all together and having that common sense of how to work in a corporate office, something like this. These are transferable skills, honestly. Other things can be adaptability, leadership, being adaptable to working in a fast-paced environment, especially. If anybody here is interested in startups in particular, startups put high value on candidates who have already worked in a startup scale-up environment where they're used to kind of the tech field semi-chaotic, to be honest, world that startups live in, where oftentimes anybody in a startup will wear multiple hats and have multiple responsibilities, and they kind of expect you to be able to jump in and help if there is a need. So that is a highly transferable skill, because honestly, not many people understand it and not many people are used to it as well. Really, with transferable skills, these are a mix between soft skills and hard skills, where, as I said, you can kind of take this time to do some introspection and have a deeper understanding of your profile and what you're able to bring into the next role. What is you, maybe a 30-year-old who is doing a career switch towards web development, comparatively to a 22-year-old who just left school? What can you bring? What is different? so on and so forth. So honestly, there's a lot of examples, but each individual profile has their own transferable skills. And you guys can make sure to highlight on all of those. So going more into actually negotiating offers, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of the ethics of how to do this and the professional guidelines and the basics on how to negotiate your offer once you actually have an offer. And the personal branding and the transferable skills, as I said, they tie into recruitment processes from the beginning. Honestly, from the very first interview where you sit down with the HR manager and they ask you, hi, so can you tell me more about yourself? If you are able to kind of set the stage from the beginning of your recruitment process, in the end, you'll be able to honestly have every stakeholder in a recruitment process have a greater understanding and a higher respect for your profile and the value that you can bring to that company and to that role. So going into actually getting an offer, once you get a job offer, of course, you have to express your gratitude, express your interest. You're probably going to be ecstatic when you actually get an offer. But at the same time, for any job offer that you ever receive, you should always ask for time to consider the role, of course, especially for junior candidates or career candidates, career switching candidates who potentially you guys have had a particularly hard job hunt and it's taken real time for you to, to get hired or to get that first interview because it's hard to market your own profile on the market. So maybe this is the first offer you've ever had and you are ecstatic. Regardless, take some time, ask for a time frame for when they need to hear back from you, and take all the time you need and continue this introspection, this preparation that you've started from the beginning of a recruitment process to have a better outcome in the end, where you can focus on the entire compensation package rather than just the number, the salary, what you might make monthly in your bank account. Okay. So as you take more time to consider your offers, mainly the things to think about are, of course, the salary, the number that will go into your bank account every month, any other benefits or perks that are involved. So I know here in France, we have a system where you get partially paid lunch by your company. So in particular, if your company pays for your lunch, obviously that's a perk that adds to your compensation package. And then, of course, what are the hours that you'll be working? Is it a classic 9 to 5? Is it a 10 to 6? Does this work for your own personal life? And then, of course, travel. Travel is something that sometimes in large cities, it is compensated by the government or it's compensated by the company. So think about this. How long does it take for you to get to this job? Is it really worth it? What is their flexibility on remote work as well? Super important things to consider. And also flexibility, again, with remote work versus in person, and the company culture in general. If you have, if you get an offer after a really kind of frustrating job hunt and you're struggling to get some traction with your profile, but in the end, you get an offer from a company that doesn't align with kind of what you want in the future, is it worth taking just because it's a job? Of course, this depends on your own situation, your personal situation, your financial situation. But in the end, a lot of people who are doing a career switch, this is coming from a place of burnout. So if you're able to really take this time and continue this introspection, where you have a greater understanding of what you're willing to do next, this will help quite a lot. And then, of course, other things to consider are your personal circumstances, your family life, what your time commitments outside of work, so on and so forth. But always take some extra time to consider your offer. But of course, if they give you a deadline, try to follow that deadline, because in the end, usually getting a job in the tech field, like I said, it's a hot thing on the market. And there are probably other candidates that they are still talking to at the end of a interview process. Okay. So make sure to think about that before they rescind an offer. Okay. But going into actually negotiating your job offer, main things to take away is that be patient about it. It does take some time also to get a hard copy, like a paper copy of your new contract or of the proposed contract. So if you need to be patient and kind of Wait until you actually have a hard copy to bring up salary discussion, salary negotiation. This would be best. And usually part of a recruitment process, the employer will ask about your expectations and what you want. It's best, honestly, to stay open-minded on this position and the responsibilities in the job and what your salary expectations are based on your personal brand, your past experience, as well as having a deeper understanding on the market and being able to kind of assume or guess a nice range for you on where you would be, for sure. And then, of course, as you are negotiating your offer or really preparing to negotiate your offer, it's really fantastic. Continue your research. I know you've already built up your own research and you have a greater understanding of your own profile. And this is where you can continue to do your research on the, whatever access to the market that you already have. So, for example, Glassdoor is a great tool to use where you're able to kind of get special insights from different people across, the world. Honestly, this is an international company by now, where different profiles post their feedback, post salary information, so on and so forth. And then, of course, if you have any other connections or resources to the tech world, talk to them. So potentially your sister's husband is a web developer. Talk to him, see what he made as his entry-level salary if you guys are located in the same position, because of course, be aware of the market in your own country, your own city, because it changes those salary expectations. But really focus in on the network that you possibly already have access to. Friends, family who also have worked in tech, or even friends and family, other connections who work in recruitment. If you have friends who are senior recruiters or they're headhunters, or even the basics of working in HR recruitment in a smaller company, they can still have special insights into what your market worth is if you have a better understanding of that. And then, of course, keep in mind all of the introspection that you have already done from the beginning of your interviews. So your top skills and your motivations and your strengths and weaknesses and how you kind of measure up to what this role is asking. And like I said, if they give you 72 hours to think about this offer, take 72 hours. It's okay to take the full time frame if you need to. And honestly, I've worked with so many different profiles by now. And even just a couple of weeks ago, I worked with a student who had 3 different offers to choose from. And she got all 3 within like 2 days of each other. And all 3 of them gave her the weekend to decide. And really, she had been waiting out for one of those companies to get back to her, and they were the last offer. But she was like, okay, Kathryn, what do? I have 3 different offers, 3 different salaries available, but I really love this one company. What do I do? And this is where we went back to our introspection and kind of had a deeper understanding on her market value in general and what she's willing to do. And in the end, she was able to negotiate, and she actually got a higher salary at the company she wanted to work at. So we love that. But yes, take all the time you need, consider everything. And if they say, get back to me by 10 a.m. on Monday morning, respond at, 9:30. That's probably your best option. Okay. So going into exactly how to kind of negotiate these offers, once you have done all of your research, all of your introspection, market value, and you have a greater understanding of what your role brings and the value that you have, this is where you can actually start negotiating your offer. This usually can start by some type of email situation where you can explain the reasons why you're not comfortable with this offer, and then asking to schedule an actual meeting to discuss it. Sending an email first is often a really nice way to avoid surprising this hiring manager with these news that you're uncomfortable with the offer. And it gives you a moment to collect your thoughts and properly prepare for the discussion in the future. Once you go into the negotiation meeting and you have this sit down with the hiring manager, I really support going into these meetings with an optimistic goal. Go in assuming that the hiring manager is on your side in some way. They know your value. They should understand your worth on the market right now by after going through 4 or 5 interview steps with you, they have an understanding of who you are. And usually your hiring manager had, they were a junior too in the past. So they have kind of an appreciation for you as well. And honestly, going into a situation with a optimistic goal in the end usually makes things better. And hopefully it will help take away some stress as well. Because, a 10-minute stressful conversation of talking about money, nobody really loves it, honestly. But if you go into the meeting with more of a positive mentality, optimistic, and in the end, hopefully this ends okay, but think about it. Think about this situation. The hiring manager wants you. They gave you an offer. They're ready. So usually they're able to kind of talk to you a little bit more and give you what they can. But of course, ideally, depending on the budget, they might not be able to give you the number that you really want in the end. So in the end, you have to think about your non-negotiables. So in the end, what is the best alternative if you're not able to get the goal salary that you have? What is the minimum that you're willing to accept? Or potentially, if there's no flexibility on the budget with the salary, is there flexibility on the vacation time or meal vouchers? Or is there a possibility of adding a gym fund, fitness activities, things like that? And be able to kind of have a deeper understanding of what you're okay with as an alternative. Okay. So going back to, these are kind of a more brief synopsis and basics of negotiating and how to kind of move forward as you negotiate your new offers. But basic, a little bit, I already said this, but try to avoid actually having a negotiation before you have a hard offer on the table. If once you have a real contract, a paper, physical contract, or a hiring promise at minimum, this can be a way for you to help with your research and have a deeper understanding in general of what they can give you and read your entire contract and what exactly are the expectations. Then, of course, make sure to research your market value and then consider how to market yourself better and pitch yourself better to the company and what you can bring to this role and how you can help this company solve problems in the future. Focus on your worth in the market, considering your past experience and your transferable skills. So especially for tech profiles, if you had any, I like to say the term tech adjacent roles, or potentially with product design in particular, these would be creative adjacent roles or design adjacent roles. I've worked with quite a lot of career changers who want to go into product design, and what they did before was some other design related fields such as architecture or digital marketing or graphic design. These are some of those particular markets, those particular industries that are super transferable into the tech world, especially for product design. So make sure to consider all of your past experience. And if it is valuable in the end, make sure to highlight on it. Of course, never accept the offer on the spot. Honestly, I think everyone should always negotiate. Even if this is the offer for your dream job, always negotiate your salary. In the end, you have nothing to lose. I have never heard of a company rescinding an offer because you asked to negotiate. That's not common. If it happens, honestly, you probably did not want to work for that company either way. But always negotiate your salary. Make sure to get, the extra money if you can, or the extra vacation days, because in the end, that's how you are going to enjoy your life, and a company is a company in the end. But always negotiate and take some time to think about your offer. Next best practice I would recommend is try to negotiate directly with your hiring manager. So this is the person who would be in charge of your team in the future, and try not to negotiate with the HR manager or the headhunter that you possibly talk to in the future. I think that with HR or with headhunters, they're not as connected to you as an actual profile in a way, because they only hosted maybe 1 or 2 of your interviews. Ideally, your hiring manager should have a greater understanding of your profile and what you're able to bring. So usually they should be more empathetic to, your pitch for a different salary. Next best practice, I would say, was be confident, be respectful about it. In the end, you will, catch more flies with honey instead of with vinegar. I think that's the saying. If you come into a salary negotiation being confident, respectful, and in the end, friendly and kind, people are more likely to help you out and empathize with where you are coming from. Entering a salary negotiation acting entitled or demanding extremes in a really, unpleasant fashion will not get you anywhere in life. You guys know this by now. Everyone should know this by now. It's better to be nice to people, and that helps you get what you want in the end. Other basic of negotiation best practice to remember: really try to focalize your negotiation into one meeting. So potentially an email and a meeting. Don't drag on your negotiation discussions, because in the end, this will get tiring. And usually during the first meeting, you'll have an answer. Or if the hiring manager needs to talk to HR or the budget team, whatever, this can be a second meeting, of course, to give you a final offer. But ideally, you want to have one meeting, focus everything in, be prepared for one meeting, and then it doesn't have to drag on. You do not have to stress, and you can go ahead and start moving forward with this new career path rather than worrying or, waiting for people to get back to you. Okay. And then, of course, next best practice, really focus on knowing your best alternatives. So, of course, in the end, most people are familiar with this by now. With any negotiation, have an understanding of a range that you want and go for the top number, especially with actual salary. But what is the minimum alternative that you're willing to accept? Okay. Going into the meeting prepared will help you so much. And then really the last thing I want to say mainly is about, don't be afraid. In the end, what will you lose? It's better to just, nail this with confidence and go forward into your life that potentially you'll have a higher salary, making $5,000 more a year. Maybe it's not that much, but over the next 40 years, ideally, you will change your job. You will not stay in the same job for 40 years, but over the progression of your career, making more money now, and especially in a career switch and in the beginning, can really, increase your salary as you move up into the future. And especially with tech profiles and with salary negotiation, get the salary you want in the beginning. But once you're not as entry level anymore, once you're no longer a junior, tech profiles, you guys are hot on the market, and you should really leave a job every 2 years. Go to a new job, get a new position, and get a higher salary right away. Okay. So I think that's pretty much everything that I have set up for today. I know that was a bit of a fast run through of everything, but thank you guys so much.
Perfect timing, Kathryn. So yeah, we have time for questions.
I'm timely, Caroline.
But
yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. So what I understand is that we need to change new jobs every 2 years.
Yes, ideally, especially tech profiles. This is so important to really keep your same value on the market consistently throughout your career.
Yeah. So what I just to sum up a bit, because we had 2 previous sessions, and there is something in common in all your advices, is that be prepared. Do your benchmark and be prepared. That give you more confidence in order to negotiate. So this is what I just get. the most important tip. So moving on, if you want to the question of the audience, I will start with the first. So thanks, Kathryn. During new recruitment process, when they ask, what is my actual salary package? Can I inflate my response? And if I do, can the HR team check this info somewhere or ask for proof of my actual package? And can they ask my salary to my actual manager? So just before you answer, so this anonymous person, just make sure to join us tomorrow at noon, because Virgil will give you also good advice on this specific topic. And I give you the mic, Kathryn, sorry.
Of course. So honestly, it depends on your country. Of course, I know we have quite a few countries represented here, but sometimes that's not legal for HR to ask you what your compensation package is at this time. So if you want to go and do some research on your own particular country, look it up. But honestly, if a hiring manager asks you what your current compensation is, honestly, you have no need to respond to them. But if you want to kind of take this opportunity and respond, you can, but be aware that most of the time, if you are honest with your current salary or current compensation, most of the time the hiring manager will be like, oh, okay, so we only need to give them a little bit more money, maybe like 5% raise or something, for them to change and for them to move into a different job. And usually, I honestly don't think that there is a way to check. I guess I do not know for sure, honestly. But in my opinion, I think it's bad practice in the HR and recruitment community if the hiring manager or the HR manager calls your current manager and asks what they make now. Honestly, I think that's manipulative, and it's bad practice in HR and recruitment. But sadly, of course, this does happen. But technically, there is no database. There is no way for them to look this up. And in the end, if they do ask your actual manager, we have no way of controlling that. But my best recommendation is to not tell them what you're making, to be honest. But if you do kind of want to explain what you're making, I would say it's best to word your response in a way on what you should be making right now, regardless of the actual package you have at this time. What is your market value at this time? You can say, considering my role and considering being at this current company for the last 2 years, I should be making 45K a year, something like that. I would never give them real specifics, to be honest. And it's bad practice anyway. I think that's a red flag in a company.
Yeah.
To be totally frank, I don't think I would want to work for a company that asks me that. But it depends.
I think so. So you need to find an answer to not answer.
Exactly. Honestly, with a lot of salary negotiation, it's kind of a game, going back and forth, a little bit of, I have a colleague who works at Dr. Lib, and she's a senior technical recruiter for them. And she explained this in interview, and salary negotiation is almost like playing basketball. You just throw the ball back and forth until whoever is ready to cave and give more information in the end. But ideally, you should try to get the hiring manager to give you an example or a budget range of what they're willing to offer for this next role.
Perhaps, Kathryn, we can add something that's just saying that while negotiating at the entry, so when you get the job, is more easier because they have like an amount for negotiation. Of course, the best will be transparency in salary and having the salary range, but if not, and then to increase after, that's more difficult because that's not the same budget. I think Virgil will explain that tomorrow, but I think that's very important. He was an HR director at Criteo and so on. He can really explain that. And I think 7% of the women are negotiating their first salary. So even you are redoing your career that time, you can do it like at the best. And so at least negotiate, because it's easiest while entering than 2 to 3 years after to have if the company is not really okay with the career path, like increase and so on, that will be.
I 100% agree. Honestly, this is why I say you should always negotiate, especially at the beginning, before you sign anything with a company, because usually it depends on the company. It's true. They have some type of systematic way of salary increases and promotions and OKRs and KPIs, all of this extra stuff that goes into a salary increase over the years. So if you can get into the job at the beginning with a higher salary, this helps you get ahead of, to be frank, the corporate like bullshit that you have to deal with salary negotiation.
Yeah, that's true. In France, it's very common.
Yes, especially here in France.
Corporate companies have a very specific rate for increasing during the year.
Yes.
So if you do not negotiate high at first when you enter in the company, your increasing rate will be very slow and you cannot have a jump or a drop off. So this is very important to be prepared.
Exactly. And that's especially why I mentioned that really tech profiles, they should move jobs every 2 years or so.
Yeah.
2, maybe 3 years max if you get a promotion internally, but you're not going to be making your market worth if you stay at a job for longer than 2 years with not much of a salary increase.
Yeah. So moving on the next, ideally, so you talk about personal branding. It's very important because this is something you can leverage on to negotiate. So Mayuri is asking, ideally, how much time must one take for retrospection to make a great personal brand?
That's a great question, actually. Honestly, ideally, you should be able to take, I guess, in the workshops that I lead with our students, we break this down over, I lead a workshop, and then ideally by the end of the week, throughout different work sessions, they're able to have a deeper understanding of their own personal brand. But most of the time, I like to task block. So I like to dedicate an hour to an activity. And then at the end of that hour, you kind of evaluate how much more work you need to do. And you go on and keep scheduling these time blocks for yourself, because each individual profile takes a different amount of work, in my opinion. But ideally, if you want to be like efficient about it, I would say a maximum of like 3 hours max. But I guess usually with, if you have a career coach like me, we have like strategic planning sessions where we're able to have discussions on how to market yourself. But it usually takes maybe an hour to 3 hours, I would say, if I have to give a number. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So next question. Sometimes the salary proposed by the company depends more on how your interaction went during the recruitment process and not just your experience. So I think it's not fair for a candidate like me who is introverted and does not know how to brag about my skills. Because of this, I tend to earn less than my counterparts. So what can I do to beat this?
That's another great thing to mention. This is also something I kind of work more with, especially with our career changers who are introverts, or career changers who had a specific experience in their last job that kind of demoted their confidence levels. This is something I work with in particular. But honestly, I still go back to the practice makes perfect. Do your preparation, research, and the best way to kind of, I guess, almost fake it till you make it is kind of your best thing. But honestly, with each interview and recruitment process, it's best to be authentic. It's best to be yourself. And yes, of course, sometimes the extroverts or the more personable people will be more assertive with what they want. But for those of you who maybe are not as prepared or not as comfortable being as assertive, if you take some time to really prepare and maybe even practice, like if you have, honestly, you can go talk to one of your friends, or I often encourage the students I work with to like have like, we do mock salary negotiations almost with fellow students. And if you're able to practice more and really just take a moment for yourself to accept that during an interview process, I have to be on, I have to be a bit more lively and assert myself. And in the future, this recruitment process, it might be uncomfortable for now, but getting that job, getting that higher salary in the end is worth, some hours of discomfort in those interviews. Yeah, sadly, that's what I have to say. I know that's not the ideal answer, introvert.
No, but the thing is, I don't know because it's an anonymous person, but if you missed the previous session, please just check the replays of Caroline Matteucci, because this will give you some guidelines to gain confidence. So Christina is asking, when applying to a different position on the same company, what is not applicable to an in-company negotiation? And she just add, thank you, away some training. Agreed.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. So that is actually another particular situation, especially to consider. First off, we do have to think about, is this internal, if you're in the same company, but you're moving internally to another position, we have to have an understanding of, is this a promotion? Are your skills in your current job transferable into this next one? And it's very similar, but maybe a larger responsibility. Or is this a completely different role and it's really a change of contract? This is what we have to think about first. In the end, it's a change of contract, and potentially maybe you work at an international company and you work for the Paris team right now, and next you're working for the global team. That's a complete change of contract, and the salary that you make at your actual job should not make that much of a difference with your next role, to be honest. But if there are more transferable skills, ideally they would be able to help. Promotion versus actual change of contract is really the dependency that we have to look into further. So it depends. But honestly, everything is applicable, because as an internal hire, you will save this company like 3 months of onboarding, basically, to a point that you'll save money, you'll save time, you'll maximize efficiency. And those are key points that make you a more valuable hire in general. So you can make sure to add that into your, your salary negotiations and your interviews too.
Okay, thank you. San Mitra, I hope I pronounced it well. Thank you for a great session, Kathryn. Does switching from software consultant to product design also count as a transfer? So it's a very specific question.
Yes, that's very specific. Honestly, the fact that you already, the fact that you already work in tech or tech adjacent fields, this should be an easier thing to switch from. But since it's going software, it was software sales or consulting. Can you repeat? Consulting. Okay, so honestly, it depends on your level of understanding of softwares and web development, web design. Product design is a little different. Product management might make a little bit more sense of the career switch from software consulting to product management. That would be easier. Going into product design, you would probably need to do some type of, extra training or your own self-training on UX UI design methodology in particular. But I think this would be a, decently logical career switch, in my opinion. It would take some extra training for UX UI if you're not already specialized on that. But it's all possible, especially because you're already in tech. If you're already in the tech field, it becomes so much easier.
Yeah, sure. So now you said to wait to have an official offer in hand before negotiating. But can we ask early for the budget allocated to the job? If it's way below my expectation, it would save everyone sometimes, no? And in this case, how do you counter the what's your current salary question? So we already answered to this, to the last part. I'll let you answer about, because it's the same way to negotiate when you have an offer. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same. You put you in the same position to look for and seek for a job when you are already in a position, you are more confident to get in the process, and you are better usually.
Exactly. So I guess going to the question with kind of being able to ask about the budget early on, honestly, I would not recommend it. To be frank, in any recruitment process, you should wait for the employer or the hiring manager or HR to bring up salary first. And this is where a decent amount of preparation and research before every interview step will really empower the candidate, mainly because you should be able to kind of guess in a way what the possible salary might be based on, the actual role, and also looking into the company. This can be based on the size of the company, also if it's international or not, but also you guys can do extra research. Go on to like LinkedIn or go on to the company website or a company blog. And if they have announced a recent like crowdfunding, or they just got sponsored, and they have like, I don't know, an extra like 200 million in the budget because there's some crazy tech scale up, that is something to be aware of, because that means salaries will probably be higher at that company. So I know that it can be quite frustrating with interview processes, and especially in countries that are not upfront with salary ranges. That's especially frustrating. France in particular is not really they don't like to post their salaries with the job offers. But people are pushing for change. But mainly it's better for you as a candidate to go into an interview process with expectations for what you should expect, and then you wait for the hiring manager to bring up salary. And usually they'll start to ask you what your expectations are as the first question. And this is where you can use your market research and give your own range. But ideally, I think if somebody asks you for what your salary expectations are, you can say something along the lines of, I've done my market research and, an introspection into my own profile. And I have an understanding of what I could possibly make in this market. But because I don't have special insights into your company, I would be interested on the budget that you have available to offer me. Going back to the basketball game, throw the ball back, get the number. Try to get a number out of them, get a budget out of them, but as a candidate, don't bring it up first, in my opinion. And yeah.
Okay, I think the answer is responded to Emily's question and Levent in some part. So maybe we can moving on another question from someone who sent us the question before the meeting. So I want to change from marketing communication, so 8 years international experience, also in senior management, to project management. While I understand that I might have to cut down a little in my salary expectations, I still don't want to have an intern salary in my mid-30s and think I deserve more due to my qualification and experience. Do you have some recommendation how to best tie in transferable skills into your negotiations and highlight the benefits so companies don't brush you off directly?
So I guess before we go into it, it was marketing communications to...
Yeah, senior management in marketing communication to project management.
Product management. Okay, those can be quite aligned, honestly.
Yeah.
Management to management, that already gives you the big checkbox. A lot of times when you're switching into management roles, if you already have the basics of, it doesn't even have to be related to your industry in particular, but it's the basics of management, project management, the size of the team that you've worked with. These are all transferable skills. Even the basics of conflict resolution, where you might have to, calm things between two stakeholders in a project. All of those things are quite transferable. And it depends on what type of marketing communications, I guess. Is it more digital marketing? That would depend as well and would help as a transferable skill. But switching more to product management, I think it's quite possible. You would have to do your research and you would have to take some time to have a deep understanding in product development, because that's a huge part of it. But in the end, the fact that you've already had 8 years in management, like you're already halfway there. I think that you would need like the UX UI design skills potentially, or web development skills, to not like intensive skills, to be honest, but you would have to be able to understand the life cycle of a product and how each technical member works in that team. So what does a developer do? What does a UX strategist do? What does a product designer do? And you'd have to understand kind of the market on how this team works together and how to talk to each individual tech profile. But I think it's quite marketable, as honestly, it's not an easy switch, but it's a switch and very possible to do since you already have management experience, especially 8 years. That's great.
Yeah, I agree. And I think marketing, especially digital marketing,
Yes.
open your knowledge about API, about
Yes.
no-code tools, everything. So you have a kind of a development culture that you can rely on. And this is something you can rely on to just justify the switch. So I think it's very possible. And it 100%. Makes sense to switch from marketing to product.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I know also from just connections in marketing and also connections in product design, they're similar work mentalities, but I know how intensive marketing can be. And sometimes product design is a bit more timely organized, in my opinion. But yeah, I think that'd be a good switch. Go for it, honestly.
I think we are good with the question and we are running out of time anyway.
Yes, I'm just sending to Envy a resource from Caroline Amus. Thank you very much for sharing with the other, like, your resources. That's so cool to see the collaboration. I really want to thank you, Kathryn, for your amazing advice. We were waiting for a long time to organize this, and we will keep preciously your video to, like, as soon someone with entering into career change, looking for a new job, they will have access to your video. So that will be awesome. So thank you very much to you all, because you stay with us during these 3 hours, and that's very fascinating to see that we are helping, concretely to give you advice. And now we can't wait to see you tomorrow, because we have like 3 another amazing session. So on the state of gender pay gap in Europe and the solution to break that inequality. The best advice from Rachel Shield from Criteo, the global VP GNI director. She has amazing tips to give you, adapted to every level of experience. And the last one on how to negotiate equity compensation in your startup, scale up, next job. So that will be amazing. So, but thank you so much. And as soon you have like a salary raise, we want to know. So of course, we will send type form to people to collect that in 3 months, perhaps, to have like more idea about what you did. But we are here for you. We want you joining 15tech.com, because perhaps you are only registered to the bootcamp, but not to the platform. We have connection for you. We have amazing resources, and we have amazing job, an inclusive job, because we are selecting the companies according to GNI criteria. So you can select your company, and the matching is working for you. So thank you very much to you all. Very pleased. Thank you, Hélène, for the great question, Q&A, animation with passion. And thank you again, Kathryn. So see you tomorrow to the day 2 of the What I Really, Really Want bootcamp. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.